A lot of times games in Tarkov look like this. And while fast-paced and stressful shootouts is always going to be a part of this game no matter whether we like it or not. As a new player, however, you might be thinking, how and is there a way for me to loot relatively safely and be able to actually get some money in this game with no hand-holding from Sherpas or squad mates or so on? And while there are countless guides out there on YouTube and on Google, you just literally have to search for them. I have one here that is relatively safe and very straightforward. And most of all, it's very consistent to do, which is to loot provisions on the Interchange. Provision items like hot rods, star cola, herring, and squash are often overlooked in Escape from Tarkov and pass over for the more common big loot like GPUs, TEDx, and stuff like that. Though they're actually quite consistent in demand as well, specifically for barter such as the holodilnic case or the refrigerator, and to produce items as well in the hideout that are often used for higher grade items and equipment even in the later stages of the wipe. So these provisions which we're talking about can fetch between 30,000 to 60,000 rubles each, which makes them valuable especially early on in the wipe. But more importantly, because they are readily farmed even by less experienced players, since not all of us can go toe-to-toe with the chads in labs like you guys. You can do this with your PMC, but it's even safer to utilize scav runs for looting provision items. So as a scav, you're minimizing the risk of hostile encounters further, and as a player scav in the first place, you'll be playing passively as opposed to actively trying to dome people that walk up to you. So farming rubles in Escape from Tarkov by looting provision items and selling them on the flea market is a viable and relatively low-risk strategy, especially when compared to high-conflict loot runs. So what's even better is usually people in the Interchange, they're going to be slaughtering each other usually over Killa, over the PC spawns, which is pretty much on the other side of the map and might as well be on another island from where you'll be. So you're far away from the gun store as well, so you get what I mean. Okay, so if you're a new player, what you should know is the Interchange is basically a huge mall with 3 main stores slash areas, which is Idea, Oli, and then you have Goshan at the middle, which is the star of this video. So the first thing that you should do when you spawn in is to figure out where you are. So some spawns are outside, sometimes you'll find themselves inside as well, which is fine. If you spawn outside and find yourself in the power station like I did earlier in the raid in the video, which is extremely obvious, you spawn that at the side of the map. And if you enter the mall directly from here, you will end up in Idea. So instead of entering directly, I suggest you skirt a bit from the outside and find your way into the building from its long side. Because if you look at the map, which I will flash on the screen, the mall is longer on the side of the front and the back right where Goshan is at, which is where we want to go. So from the outside looking at the mall, you can pretty much instantly tell if you're at Goshan or the front side, or if you're at the side and you're facing one of the smaller ends, which is Oli and Idea. So assuming you made it to Goshan and is still alive, the specific provisions or food items that you should be looking for in order of value is the following. So first is packs of sugar. Always loot packs of sugar. Never eat them when hungry since they're too valuable and not convenient to use anyway since it dehydrates you like crazy too. Packs of sugar on average are 50 to 55k in the flea market, which is one slot a pop, so it's also the highest value and the most cost efficient in terms of value per slot per item, right? And most importantly, sugar is always used and will always be valuable no matter what time of the wipe you are in. So packs of sugar are very valuable. They're used to barter for the Fleer from Jaeger, which is a thermal scope and super valuable in Tarkov, as well as being used to craft the Pierce Hatchling Moonshine in the hideout, which itself is extremely useful and expensive. It is actually the most expensive provision item in the game, I think. And next is Alyonka chocolate bars. So not worthwhile for eating as well. These go for around 26k to 30k on the flea market. And is used to produce sugar, which I've just explained why it's important, as well as to produce whiskey, or Dak Daniel whiskey to be precise, which is used to barter slash obtain the Tick case, the Bravo scope, and the M4A1 from Peacekeeper. And next we have a group of items that go together, which is cans of Tarcola, squash, hot rods, and herring. So now these are relatively similar in use, which is they are bartered to Jaeger for the holodilnic thermal case, which is a container item basically that is used to store provision items, as well as some barter items that are inedible food. These 4 items will be the majority of items you fill up your backpack with when you're looting provision items in Interchange, and they each go for on average around 25k to 30k rubles each. You should however also understand that the prices of items in the flea market often vary and they fluctuate, sometimes upwards of 20 to 50% at a time daily. So take that into consideration. The hot rods are also very good to bring as a provision item, just as a side note, because it replenishes energy as well as hydration. But aside from that, there isn't really much to say about these items except that they go together, period. Another thing that is of note is cans of Rat Cola worth 19k to 24k rubles. So currently the RBPP key in reserve doesn't open any lock, but curiously it's unlocked by Jaeger level 4 barter, so most likely this will be relevant in a future update in the later parts of the wipe. So I can kind of predict that Rat Cola will be more expensive once we get this update. And next is Grand Juice, which is the red juice boxes worth 40 to 45k each. They are used to barter for Zoc plates in Prapor, which goes to the 6B23 armor carriers, which is a decent tier 3 armor. And next is Oat Flakes worth 20 to 30k, which are used to barter in Therapist for the Kiba Outer Key, which is the gun store in Interchange and is worth around 500k plus rubles in the free market right now. And then we have condensed milk and packs of milk worth 22k and 30k respectively. Mainly used to barter for the Kiba gun store key as well. And also because they are used to barter for neat stuff like Mechanics Best Pistol Grip for the AS Val, which is one of the game's most used rifles. And last but not the least are Rye Croutons worth 20 to 23k each that are used to produce Pepco beers in the hideout, which in turn is used for fuel and a Vulcan 5 face shield barter in Prapor. So it's important for you to make sure that you get the highest value item as much as possible to maximize the time and value you get from your time inside the raid and grinding for rubles. And speaking of grinding efficiently and maximizing your time, this video sponsor UG Phone allows you to do just that by allowing you to farm and level up in your favorite mobile games even when you are sleeping, working, or just AFK in general. You can use this to play mobile games that are above your phone's specs as well. Multi-client mobile AFK games like AFK Arena, allowing you to build up multiple accounts all at once and even enjoy better performance no matter what country you are in, thanks to UG Phone's global server coverage. So eventually you should get a feel for what items are more expensive. It just comes with playing more, but more often than not you should always be able to fill up your inventory with the best items that you're aiming for most of the time. Utilizing scav runs for looting provision items is a safer alternative to high conflict areas like labs or resort. The reduced risk of player versus player encounters and the ability to extract relatively valuable items without significant investment makes this method both efficient and cost effective, allowing me to net almost 300 to 500k rubles for a relatively small pack. By focusing on high demand provision items and leveraging the flea market's recent changes, you can steadily accumulate rubles with minimal risk this way. So this strategy is particularly effective for people who are seeking consistent income without engaging in high stakes combat scenarios. So next time, see you all on the other side.